Thank you, Doc Emily. Good morning. I am Carol Saunders, your worship leader for this morning. Oh, thank you, Kelly.
Oh, you're so I'm glad we're the same height. This will work out real well.
That's true. One thing that I love about this congregation is that after we come together to create a goal, we wholeheartedly support each other in developing a pathway toward its end. I'm thinking specifically about our recent Vision Saturday. We were very connected and creative in that important activity. If you're joining us online, fill out a visitor form in the link in the description, and we'd surely love to hear from you. Part of our mission is to connect bravely, and we're glad that you're sharing part of your Sunday with us. Many of us were once, too, seeking for something larger than ourselves to which we could belong. A sense of rootedness to hold us as we create meaning together. We do that well here, though not perfectly. In this congregation, we strive not for perfection, but for authenticity and connection. Whether it's your first time in worship with us or your 100th time, we hope that you'll find here questions to stretch you, people to befriend you, and liberal religious values that challenge you to join us in a loving, justly living, and welcoming manner. I have an announcement or two. It's time again for our biennial food and supplies drive for the pantry at the Boulder County AIDS Project known as BCAP. Starting today and for the next 3 Sundays, there will be baskets in the front hall for your donations of non-perishable food and household and personal supplies. BCAP assists about 200 people living with HIV in Boulder and Broomfield counties, and also nearby communities in the mountains, and there are always new people each month. I want to tell you that Paula Stafford sends grace and peace for her loving friend Mary Lou and her family at the death of Mary Lou's mother. And Rebecca Jeffrey, joy and celebration for Kathy Martinez, who turns 22 today. And finally this morning, I want to extend a very warm welcome to Reverend Kelly Dignan. As you might remember, Reb Kelly was the minister at UUCB from 2015 to 2019 and is now in her final months as executive director of UU Ministry for Earth. She lives in Denver with her husband, Pete, and it is such a delight to have both you, Pete and Kelly, with us this morning. And Rachel does have an announcement as well.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Alba, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm the Director of Religious Education here. I wanted to let you all know that I'm taking an extended leave of absence starting on Thursday and probably won't be back until the first Sunday in April. The reason for this is that my mom was re-diagnosed with oral cancer and she has a pretty intense surgery coming up on February 28th. So if you want to send her love and light and prayers and joy and all those things, that would be really great. She will be fine. The prognosis is really great. It's just that it's going to take a lot of healing process. So I will be out of town for a significant period of time for that reason. Obviously, that leaves us with like a gaping hole for Sunday programming. And Reverend David and I sat down and we thought, who could possibly run our religious education programs on Sunday mornings, and we settled on the brilliant idea that Irene Kirschenbaum would be the perfect person to invite back. And this actually does a couple of things for us. So Irene is sitting right there. You can wave and say hi. But she's going to be running Sunday morning religious education during the 9 a.m. service. But one of the things that we've noticed more recently is that we have a hole in our programming specifically for our preschoolers. So they have specific developmental needs that don't really work with the religious education programming that we offer for elementary school, and they want something more structured than what we offer in the nursery. Irene, for those of you who don't know, is a Montessori preschool teacher. And there's this amazing curriculum called Spirit Play that we hope to implement starting in April. So Irene will continue to be with us offering Spirit Play for our preschoolers in April. Yeah. But before we get there, she's going to be helping out and basically being me. I will still be reachable via email and doing things like that remotely while I'm away, but obviously with diminished capacity. So thank you so much for being so warm and supportive of me as I take care of my mom.
The chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. It is a cup of life, sustaining to quench our spirit's thirst, a cup of celebration and resolve, a flame of hope, a light of warmth for our souls and to guide us home. And I'd like to invite Dan Lamprey to do our chalice lighting this morning.
Thank you, Carol. Love at first sight. That is how I felt upon connecting with this church, and continues to this day. And let me share with you my definition of love in that context. It is the unconditional acceptance of each other that fosters a feeling of belonging and connection. My connection with this church started with the first service I attended last May. Then I joined the choir in August. I signed the membership book in September. I attended service every Sunday except when I was out of town. I volunteered doing yard work, helped set up and enjoy the Thanksgiving feast, flipped gluten-free and vegan pancakes on 2 occasions, sang circle songs, attended the building expansion visioning session, which was amazing, met with so many members for dinners, coffees, climbing, billiards, and hikes. And I am starting the Midlife Oasis group. If you haven't heard about it, stay tuned or talk to me later. So you could say that I've been connecting a lot with this church. And the reason is not to build up my church resume or to become the new member of the year. It is selfishly because of how wonderful it makes me feel to receive so much love that comes in so many ways from this church. And examples: the welcome greeting on Sunday. If I'm lucky, I'll get a hug with Barb. Hearing amazing stories from other members during the chalice lighting, so amazing. The thoughtful words in each service that resonates with its core values, that literally has love in it. Singing with the choir. Friendships with fellow members and non-members alike, and so much more. And another reason I have been so active in this church is because I'm in that in-between place that Reverend David spoke about last month. When I moved here last year, because my heart longed to be near the mountains, I didn't realize it would come with such a large void in my life. When I started coming to this church, I had no friends or family nearby. I was renting, so no DIY projects. And I had no job. And unfortunately, I still don't have a job, but I have to thank all of you that have been so supportive and offering help as I continue my job search, and it will come. I'm confident of that. So to put it in a nutshell, because we seem to like to do that here, ever since I connected with this church, it has filled the void in my life and offered respite from that in-between place. And for that, I am so grateful. I light this chalice in gratitude for the love and connection in this church. Oh, I saw a lighter.
Yeah, that'll work.
Can I go direct?
Yeah, you might just. What if someone shot one?
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
We are a promise-making and promise-breaking and promise-remaking people. We are called not to be perfect, but to be faithful. And in that spirit, each week we speak our covenant aloud together. It is a reminder of the promises we make in this gathered community. So in person or online, if you will please rise in body or spirit, join us to say our covenant. We gather in fellowship to speak truth to each other, to reach out and touch one another, to share with each other, and to speak the truth divine. So be it.
Well, as Dr. Emily said, we are living in some hard times. So I want to extend all the good work she started our service with another somatic, which means body-based, meditation practice that I learned in some activist circles over the last year or two. It's called a centering practice, and we're going to center in 3 dimensions: length, width, and depth. And so I'm going to invite you to tune in to right below your belly button, so you can take a deep breath in and out, and you might put your hands on your lower belly. This is your center of gravity, the center of your body. And I invite you just to imagine that there's a big bubble of light all around you. You are shining brightly right from the center of your body out all around you. And the first thing we're going to do is center in length. So feel your feet on the ground, feel the earth beneath you. And just if you're slumped a little, like I usually am, just straighten your spine a bit. Maybe put your head in line with your spine. If you've got room and it feels good, you could draw your hands up above your head. You are tall because we are centering in length and we are centering in dignity. You are inherently worthy. You have inherent dignity. And when we can tune into that strength and power, we root in our Unitarian Universalism and our strength. Okay, next, I don't know if it's going to work for you to put your hands sideways. So just maybe do whatever you can, because we're going to center in width. All right, so if you can, move your feet out a little bit. Feel your hips getting bigger. What freedom to let our hips get big, let our shoulders get wide. You can move left to right a little bit. We are centering in the dimension of belonging. Yeah, look, we belong. We got a wave going over here. We got some swaying. You can sway together. You are not alone. Yeah, when we're ready to regulate our nervous systems, we are centered in width. We belong to the interdependent web of life, to each other. Okay, the third dimension is depth. So for this, you could put one hand facing forward and one hand facing back. We're going to start by tuning into the back of your head. You can drop your hands if it's too hard to imagine. Feel your clothes on your back. Tune into the back of your knees, your seat. Okay, this is the dimension of history. All your skills, first of all your abilities that you've accumulated so far in life, and all our ancestors. Your healthy ancestors and our Unitarian Universalist ancestors, who really root back all the way to 300s, but more formally since the 1400s, ancestors who have fought for justice and equity, who have spoken truth to power. Feel them have your back right now. We are centered in history. We're also centered in the future. So begin to just imagine a future of not passive optimism, but active hope. The world we dream about. You might imagine your descendants, biological or otherwise. You might just imagine your garden getting ready soon. Just anything in the future. We are centered in depth, time. And then find yourself right here in the present moment, centered, full of dignity, belonging, history, future, and present moment. None of us are alone. There is a thread that weaves through this church community, a fiber of compassion, which comes from knowing and holding and transforming suffering, tying us together as one. An unseen filament that connects every heart jumping for joy and every heart breaking with sorrow. Each week, you all engage in a ritual to embody this unseen interconnection of hopes and concerns. For those of you online, we are with you in spirit here, and for those of you gathered in person, I invite you to come forward as you are moved, starting with the back half of the room, those in front of the windows, then the front. And just as you wait for the others to come forward, let your thinking mind quiet. Let your breath study and call to mind the joys and sorrows that are real in your life. And as you come forward, take a stone as a symbol and place it in the dirt, the earth, resting in something larger than any one of us alone, this connected community. Well, we needed that, didn't we? That tray is full. Yeah. So for all the joys and all the sadness we hold in this space, may we carry not the heaviness, but the love that was generated through this ritual in this room. Amen.
Connections are made slowly. Sometimes they grow underground. You cannot tell always by looking what is happening. More than half the tree is spread out in the soil under your feet. Penetrate quietly as the earthworm that blows no trumpet. Fight persistently as the creeper that brings down the tree. Spread like the squash plant that overruns the garden. Gnaw in the dark and use the sun to make sugar. Weave real connections. Create real nodes. Build real houses. Live a life you can endure. Make love that is loving. Keep tangling and interweaving and taking more in. A thicket and bramble wilderness to the outside, but to us, interconnected with rabbit runs and burrows and layers. Live as if you liked yourself, and it may happen. Reach out, keep reaching out, and keep bringing in. This is how we are going to live for a long time, not always, for every gardener knows that after the digging and after the planting, after the long season of tending and growth, the harvest comes.
Well, we have been reading that poem by Marge Piercy as Unitarian Universalist for over 30 years because it's number 568 in the Gray Hymnal. And the Gray Hymnal was published 30 years ago. I've read it at ordinations, we've read it in worship, we've read it at group meetings, we've read it at justice gatherings, and I never really got the title of the whole poem. It's called The Seven of Pentacles. Well, Piercy is referring to a tarot card. And for the longest time, I considered the tarot to be irrational, woo-woo, fortune-telling stuff. Just weird. But what I have come to appreciate is that the tarot is a symbolic language. It reflects on archetypes and the structures of the human psyche. And now I use the tarot as a part of a regular spiritual practice to help me see patterns in myself and the wider world. The Seven of Pentacles, that's the old-fashioned card, and then a more new version of it, has a message for us, which we hear reflected in that poem. It says, patience is key. Don't expect immediate results. Trust the process and let things unfold naturally. Focus on steady growth, learning always as you work towards your goals. And step back and assess how far you've come in your endeavors. Now we can apply that to our jobs, our families, our gardens. It's a little hard to apply to the world right now, like patience, really? Do we really want to have patience? Do we want to let things unfold naturally? We're going to get to that later. But I'm here to apply the card and the poem to the expansion of this sacred space, this building, to help you step back and assess how far you've come in your endeavors and goals. I know last Saturday you had a visioning session, and based on your website, I see that it was encouraging, invigorating, and cohesive, yeah? And that architect, Scott Rodwin, said that this whole process in a project like this is a lot like having kids. Joyful, frustrating, expensive, and it takes a long time. UUCB has already actually been taking a long time because connections are made slowly. Sometimes they grow underground. You can't tell always what's happening. Some of you may not know what's happening. Some of you may have forgotten what is happening. You've been weaving real connections, creating real nodes, building real houses toward this project for more than 13 years. There's the quote. Look at that quote. We're going to bring the poem back. And I have a lot of slides. Poor Ray. He's back there in the sound booth, and he's doing my slides. Thank you, Ray. Your progress has all been grounded in your mission, and our mission as Unitarian Universalists to be a liberal religious home where people can come here to connect bravely, to deepen spiritually, to embody justice, and to always love. And that continuity in mission has helped you and allowed you to create room and more room and more room to be that home, that religious home. So I'm going to take you through a little history, if that's okay. David asked me if I'd be up for this, and I had more fun looking back and going through all my files and folders and slideshows. And I'm not going to tell you everything that's happened in those 13 years, because we'd be here for days, just as it relates to this building project. It started in 2012. When you realized you were growing and you wanted to make sure you were also welcoming, that you were drawing the circle wide. At that time, I was the ministerial intern here. And that year, the GROW Task Force, GROW, G-R-O-W, Task Force 1.0 was established. And GROW stood for Give Our Faith Room to Grow, Retain Our Ministries Through Integration, Outreach to more people who need us, and widen our vision to embrace change. Raise your hand if you remember GROW 1.0. Few of you do. 1.0. In April of 2013, the GROW Task Force 1.0 presented its recommendations to the board, and they said that when Sunday service attendance in this room reaches the room's critical capacity of 75%, major changes to the present building or holding 2 services a week would be required. That was 13 years ago. 3 years later, in 2015, I returned to UUCB as your minister, and GROW 2.0 was established. And they were chartered with thoroughly researching and discussing through forums and making concrete recommendations to the board how to address the issue of growth and overcrowding in the faith community. Now, this group was asked to consider all the options, including a capital campaign, a construction plan, 2 services, and more. They held informational sessions with the whole congregation so that all members were part of it, and we gathered input. And 6 months later in June, they came to you all and said, that was way too much work for us to do. And we all were like, well, duh, what were we thinking? So they focused on near-term experiments to address the Sunday morning flow and signage. Okay, so those tall black tables in the Sky Room, yep, that was 2015. The welcome sign out front, that was 2015. All the signage, the flow, more accessible bulletin boards, right, with bigger lettering. That all came out of that GROW Task Force. But GROW 2.0 also said there needs to be a change in governance. We really need a long-range planning team to work with projects that the board has that they just don't have the capacity to do. And so the Strategic Initiatives Committee was formed, and we nicknamed it C. Yes, we can committee. So the C committees, I think the mission's still the same, to work on projects that grow out of the strategic plan and the mission. And in 2016-17, yep, that's the right slide, their job was to investigate going to 2 services. And then over time, let's go to the next slide, Ray, I think, sorry. Over time, this C committee would begin to work on recommendations for a capital campaign and major building process. So the process for going to 2 services, let me just say, was extensive. There were surveys, and there were listening circles and planning and small changes to the plan and more listening circles and more planning, and staff and board and the whole congregation was involved in going to 2 services. I have such great memories of that time. I mean, we had some concerns that like we wouldn't be able to see each other, right? Not everyone would be in the same room, but we were also knowing that it would be a really exciting time of growth. And right at the end-ish to that process, something happened. November 2016, Donald Trump was elected president. Our attendance soared. Liberal religion was necessary, and we knew it was more clear than ever that we needed to make room. We needed to draw the circle wide right away. And so on January 8th, 2017, we went to 2 services. Reach out. Keep reaching out. Keep bringing in. Spread like the squash plant that overruns the garden. Gnaw in the dark and use the sun to make sugar. That's what you did. C continued to do their good work, and the next phase was to focus on a culture of not just welcome, but also generosity. I remember a meeting of the board and the C committee at our house in South Boulder. There were flip chart sheets on every window and every wall of the whole house, and we had what seems like a very small TV at that time. TVs have gotten way bigger. And the slides of the C committee were on that little TV, and we had good breaks outside and good food. And that next slide shows that the stewardship committee and ministry was formed. To deepen UUCB's commitment to the mission and programs of the congregation by inspiring a culture of abundance and generosity, a joyful sharing of gifts, talents, and resources. A 6-year plan was sketched out, and it was just for planning purposes. Some of us went to Arizona for a stewardship retreat thing that the region put on. And you can see in the 17-18 year, the goal was to form the stewardship ministry, but also start a planned giving strategy here at the church. Now, simply put, a planned gift is a donation you make in your estate plan or your will. The gift is deferred, so if you've made it to the church doesn't get it until you die, but there are tax benefits to you for doing that. And we had fun talking about death, actually, then, too. Like, that's part of life, right? And so in that year, you all created and implemented an unbelievably successful planned giving strategy. You received over $1 million in bequests. And the denomination at that time was doing a matching program. And so you received another $100,000 from the UUA, deferred but promised. Now, you all are generous people. When David first started, he's like, how did they get so generous? I said, they're generous people. Piercy's poem says, live as if you liked yourself, and it may happen. You all do that. Now let me say, I think it was about this time, 2018, when Pete and I were on vacation in Crested Butte, and on Sunday morning we got a call from the church office. And Abby and Emily were in the office on speakerphone. They said, Kelly, we really hate to bother you, but the sewage is bubbling up in the front yard of the church. Nasty. So it was clear 6.5 years ago that welcoming was not the only reason that you all need a building project. There is so much maintenance to be done and to be addressed. I know there's electrical issues, plumbing issues, definitely sewage issues, trees growing into sewer pipes. It's a hot mess, you all, and I've been here every day. I have a lot more stories, and I see some people in the room who have stories too. The Golden Guys, they were our building guys back then, and they were in my office every day. In 2018-19, the plan was to facilitate a UUCB-wide discussion on mission and values in preparation for a capital campaign. We did that, and you now have that beautifully revised, slightly revised. It wasn't a major revision, mission, right, which we've said before already, to connect bravely, deepen spiritually, embody justice, and always love. And then Kay Kreider was hired in 2019 to do the initial evaluation of the readiness to embark on a building expansion project. Her report was used as input for the C committee, and she's back helping you now. The plans were to continue in 2020 with a program guide for a capital campaign, a project management structure, a selection of an architect. 2021, the hope was to do some feasibility studies. There's that cool map in the Sky Room. Pretty much that whole plan was laid out all these years ago. High-level project planning, then a detailed project plan, permits, construction. 2023, the idea was that construction would begin. But in March of 2020, something happened. A global pandemic. So, you lived a life you could endure. You extended love. You kept tangling and interweaving and taking more in, a thicket and bramble wilderness to the outside, but to you, interconnected with rabbit runs and burrows and lairs. And here you are, interweaving and taking more in again. Interweaving welcome, interweaving generosity, making connections and drawing the circle wider and wider still. Why? Why would you do all that? Why wouldn't you just keep going as you're going? Beyond fixing all the accumulated maintenance, why would you do a building expansion? Now, I know you all are brainstorming the why as part of your process, but I want to share what's coming to my mind and heart. Boulder needs you. The state of Colorado needs you. The wider world needs you. And Unitarian Universalism needs you. They all need you to be flourishing and alive. They need you to have your doors open to even more people. Because this poly crisis that we're living in is not accidental. It's driven by values. And as people of faith, we're driven by values, different than the ones of the poly crisis. This faith tradition has been around since many, many, many years ago, and our values have been steadfast. Justice, equity, interdependence, pluralism, generosity, transformation, and always love. Love at the center. So we gather in congregations to strengthen those values and rededicate ourselves to living them. We gather to give voice to reality, to name what is going on in the world, and to grieve and shout and plan and seek joy. Not with a shallow optimism, with a deep, active hope. We gather for ritual practices that keep us in our bodies and grounded to earth, to share our joys and our sorrows, and to remember that we're not alone, that living in this world is not a solo act. There are many lanes in the revolution, and we need each other. We gather in rooms with people to remember that we are more than our online identity. We are more than the internet. We are together in person. We gather in this building and in the expanded version of it to stay anchored in the life that's been given us so that we might not only survive, but flourish and thrive. Church is essential right now. Sacred space of gathering in person and online is essential right now. And the time is now to expand, to draw the circle wide, so that you can continue to bring more in, bring more in, bring more in. Patience is the key. Don't expect immediate results. Trust the process. Let things unfold naturally. Focus on steady growth, learning always to continue to work toward your goals, and step back. Keep stepping back to assess how far you've come in your endeavors. Today, we have looked back to see how far you've come in 13 years, and I am excited to see how you work towards your goals, because this is how we're going to live for a long time. Not always, for every gardener knows that after digging and planting, after the long season of tending and growth, the harvest comes. May it be so right here. Amen.
Oh, did I hear a wow? Yeah. We got to sing. Yeah. Let's rise in body or in spirit and summon some gratitude for where we've been, where we're going. Reverend Kelly's beautiful ministry that continues to touch us. We are lucky, lucky people. All right. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
The Share Our Plate partner for the month of February is Boulder Area Sanctuary and Immigration Coalition, BASIC, B-A-S-I-C. BASIC is the multi-faith coalition which grew out of UUCB's Sanctuary Now effort that began in summer 2017. The Reverend Kelly Dignan here was instrumental in bringing this group together originally as the Boulder County Sanctuary Coalition, or BCSC. BASIC is currently joined by 6 Boulder County faith communities and is a registered 501c3 charity. Barbara Malfisi and Fred Cole are UUCB's representatives on the BASIC Executive Board. Much of our current concern is certainly with Ingrid and the safety of her family. She is receiving competent legal advice, and she is also very worried and is trying to keep a very low profile. That is about all we can tell you at this moment. BASIC's mission is to provide support for immigrant individuals, regardless of status, and also their communities. And at times, this may seem, or should I say this, at times may include financial assistance. We also attempt to maintain an awareness of the issues affecting those individuals and their needs, and to communicate those concerns back to our respective congregations. We are also connected with several other statewide organizations, such as Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition, CIRC, Casa de Paz, Colorado Rapid Response Network, or CORRN, and continue to assist them in their humanitarian and advocacy work. For those online, you can use the QR code or find a link in the video description. For those gathered in person, you can scan the QR code or make a donation as the ushers now pass the baskets. May your gifts be used to enact justice, bringing peace and love to the Boulder community, and I invite you to give as generously as possible.
Weave real connections, create real nodes, build real houses and churches. Draw the circle wide, because the world needs the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. Much love to you all. Go in peace.
But first, let's sing, will you rise in body or in spirit? That's okay, that's why I'm here.